Okay, hello everybody. At the end of the last video, we had an Arch Linux installation set up inside of a virtual machine. So today I want to show you the next part of an Arch installation, typically, which is adding a graphical environment. So first of all, we're going to be installing Xorg. You could use Wayland, I guess, if you preferred, but I usually stick with Xorg myself. So we're going to be installing Xorg. We're going to install Xorg xinit so that we can call startx. And then for the program, for our window manager, of course, we're going to be using DWM. So we're going to install DWM. And we're also going to install the simple terminal, also from Suckless, that goes with DWM. And once we have all that put together, we'll basically be off to the races. We'll have I guess what I would consider a fully functional Arch installation. Of course, there's still going to be plenty more to add, but at that point, we can actually start living inside of that installation, basically. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop over to the VM. This time I will make it full screen because we are going to start working on that graphical environment. So, kind of the plan for this virtual machine is to do all of the configuration I do inside of it on camera, basically. So pretty much every aspect of the videos should be reproducible if you go back and watch these videos in sequence. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get started. So I'll log in as my user Brent, my strong complicated password, and there's not much here right now. So the first thing we want to do, I'm actually recording this on the same day, just a little later than when I did the installation. So probably there are no packages to update, but we'll check just in case. Alright, excellent. So now we're going to want to install Xorg xinit, and I think that should be good for now. Yep, that's a lot of stuff. So of course, if you wanted to, you could install a full desktop environment at this point. So if you want something like GNOME or KDE or XFCE, you could just install that at this point and you'd pretty much be set. However, I just want a window manager. I just want a tiling window manager like DWM. Not actually like DWM, I exactly want DWM. So this is kind of the procedure for obtaining that. Now, of course, DWM and ST, you have to build from source. All of the configuration is actually in C, and you have to recompile the programs to actually get them to work. Or to get your configuration to take effect. So, we're not really going to be able to install those from Pacman. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and make a directory called configs. Yes, so this is why you should do the user add command correctly the first time. If I do a ls-l, well, let's go up this one, ls-l, you'll see that root is actually the owner of my home directory. So what I need to do is sudo shown. I need to change the owner. Actually, I'm going to read the manual for this. I never remember if it's file or user first. Okay, so I need to do sudo shown Brent. I guess in this case it doesn't matter. And I probably want this to recurse. I think it's a capital R. Okay, so let's go ls-l. Okay. Good. So now I am the owner. And, you know, while we're at it, let's also change the group. Sudo. Check the manual for that as well. So you can see these two columns in the ls-l showing root for lost and found, or Brent root for Brent. So I think those two columns are the owner and the I think the group owner. Yeah, change group ownership. So I would also like for my home area to be in my group. So I'll do sudo. I'm not sure if this part's as necessary, but we'll go ahead and do that anyway. Now if I do that, whoops, you can see Brent on Brent. I guess actually we could verify that on my actual installation, but that's okay. So now we should be good to make a directory called configs. And as I was saying before, eventually I'll probably put all of the configuration files for this VM onto GitHub, so that if you're following along in the videos, you can just get the files directly. But anyway, we've got configs. We'll go ahead and hop in there. One thing I will do before this, I want to add an alias to my bashrc, because I'm going to type VI a lot, and I don't want it to complain to me. Okay, good. So we're all set there. Now, as I was saying about DWM and ST, since they are not in the Arch repositories, I'm just going to hop over here and copy the link to the download. So, DWM. Oh, whoops. Yeah, we're just going to download this release. You can clone the repository, but, you know, since I was saying that I'm likely to put this into my own Git repository, I'll just start with the source code directly. So let me just copy this link and hop back over here. Send. Can I paste? Okay, I can't paste. That's kind of what I was expecting. So let's see, what is the link? dl.sucklist.org/dwm. Okay, actually I can just paste the link on my other monitor. So we're going to go ahead and curl. Okay, there we go. Let's hop back. I'll go ahead and grab the ST link while I'm at it. That way I don't have to repeat this. Okay, back to full screen. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just curl https dl.sucklist.org dwm, yeah, dwm 6.3.tar. I'm having a rough time typing right now. I'll go ahead and wrap these in quotes just in case. So single quotes just to make sure that the shell doesn't escape anything in here. Okay, we should have gotten that. And now I also want st, I'll just work backwards here, st.0.5, oh, .8.5, .tar.gz. Okay, so now hopefully we have tar. I'm actually a little surprised that we had curl installed. So let's go ahead and get DWM going. We want to extract it. It's zipped. We'll make a new file. Beautiful. And then I'll do the same on ST. So one thing I'd like to point out here, you guys are seeing me do this like line editing on the command line. I'm using all of the Emacs bindings for this. Those are the default in most shells. All the shells I've used before default to these Emacs bindings. You can turn on the Vim ones, but I find modal editing very annoying at the command line. I much prefer to just be constantly in insert mode and to move around the cursor with stuff. So, you know, you've probably used the arrow keys, like up arrow to retrieve the previous command and stuff like that. But you can also use the Emacs version of that. So you can do Control P to go up, Control N to go down, Control A takes you to the beginning of the line, E to the end, stuff like that. When I'm moving forward a word, I do like, let's see, Alt F, Meta F if you're an Emacs user, to go forward a word, Meta B to go back a word, stuff like that. And then what I just did was Control K to kill that DWM part. And something I really didn't consider until recently is you can use the Emacs undo binding. So Control Shift Control underscore, I guess, will undo that. So that's just a bit of an aside. Now we're going to also extract ST. So I should be done with these tar.gz files. And I'm going to move DWM. I'm just going to call it DWM. Same thing with ST. So what I want to do, when you're going to install DWM, I mean, first of all, we can take a look at the README. Ah, this is where it is. Yes. let's see, exit group. Yeah, so I know how to do the installation. One thing that's important is this right here. So we're going to want to add this to our .xinitrc file. We're just going to add exec DWM. I'll show you guys a way we can improve on that in a little bit, but that's how we'll do for now. But before you even mess with that, we need to actually install DWM. So first, let's take a quick look at the make file, and we're going to run make clean install. So clean is just going to delete this stuff. Oh wow, it actually deletes the archive. And then install is going to call all. So it's going to run both options and DWM. So what is options? Oh, options is up at the top. Options just tells us how we're compiling it basically. And then DWM does this. Depends on the object files. Yeah, so it looks like before that we actually do need to copy over our config.h. So your main DWM config file is called config.h, and it starts out as this config def.h. So these are all of the defaults that we'll see here. We're going to play with this a little bit once we actually get into DWM. But first of all, let's just copy config def to config.h. And we should be ready to sudo make install. Looks like that went well. Now one thing I do want to point out in config.h before we get too far along is our term command. So you'll see that hard-coded in this config file is st. So DWM is actually going to expect to use st as your terminal. So if you don't have st installed, you're not going to be able to open a terminal inside of DWM. Unless you have some other terminal installed, and you also have dmenu installed. So that is the other thing I forgot. We also want to install dmenu. So dmenu is the program launcher we're going to be using. And you can see here that DWM has some things in the config file referring to dmenu. So this is in the Arch repository, so let's go ahead and grab that. So we have dmenu. The last thing we need to do is work on st. So st, basically the same thing. We're just going to copy over config def.h to config.h, and then we can run sudo make install. Alright, perfect. So we have DWM and st installed. Now the last thing to do is to edit our xinitrc to say exec DWM. Now that needs to be the last command in your xinitrc. So obviously it's the only command in there right now for us, but in the future it will not be. We need to make sure that stays at the bottom, because once we exec that, the rest of the file is not going to be read. So we've got our xinitrc ready. Let's go ahead and call startx. Alright, perfect. So you can see we can make some minor complaints already. The font's a little ugly, the resolution's not right, but the resolution's not DWM's fault. So the first thing we want to do is open a terminal. So we'll do that with Alt-Shift-Enter. Wow. Okay. So it looks like I actually don't have any monospace fonts installed. So I think I usually use, let's do sudo pacman-s ttf deja vu. I'm pretty sure that's what I use. Cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, let's see if xrender is installed. Xrender, oh my. I do not ever remember how to do xrender. So, let me show you guys. I didn't actually know about this program until very recently. Arender. So this will give us kind of a graphical interface to xrender, which makes doing this xrender stuff very convenient. Okay, you can see it's pulling in a lot of stuff, but we don't have much stuff installed, so many of these dependencies will be used by other programs when we install them eventually. Okay, So we can go ahead and do a render. And yes, I would like to set my resolution. We'll make it 1920 by 1080. Apply. Please apply. Okay, excellent. Now you can save these to a file. We'll probably do that later, but I'm not worried about it for now. Okay, so we just installed TTF Deja Vu. So let me hop into my configs file. This is probably really small. Wow. Okay, I think that should be... That's really big. So let's go ahead and hop in. So the first thing I'll do is actually go into ST. Let's take care of that font. Alright, Liberation Mono. I'm going to use Deja Vu Sans Mono. Pixel size 14. I better check FC list. Yeah, Deja Vu Sans Mono. So you can see the issue here of not using a monospace font is that some of the characters are being overlaid. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure we have a monospace font installed. I think we may have actually done that accidentally with our other stuff, but I will go ahead and set this anyway. Sudo make install. Alright, let's see how that looks now. Okay, that looks good. We'll go ahead and get that out of here. So the other thing I like to do is let's see, I should probably just set this to something pretty large. Let's go 18. Okay, that should be pretty readable, I think. Alright, now the other thing I need to do is go ahead and tweak some of my DWM key bindings. So configs DWM. So we're going to do a couple things here at once. The first thing for DWM is we also want to set the font. So we're going to use the same font, Deja Vu Sans Mono. I'll make this size 12. And I'll do the same thing for D-menu. Whoops. Okay, yeah, because you can see the D-menu up there. Alright, so that's going to set the font in our bar up there at the top. The other thing I like to do, let's look for our mod key. Yes. So the default here is mod 1 mask, which is the alt key. That may be okay depending on your tastes, but when we get into Emacs, that's going to be a big problem. So I'm going to change that to mod 4 mask to use my Windows key. And I think everything else should be okay. Personally, I do like to modify some of this stuff as well. So the D-menu command by default is mod P. I usually like to change that to D. If you're coming from a Mac or something, I think you might want to bind that to like mod space. Because I think that's what it is on Mac, if I remember correctly. Other than that, yes. So I like my terminal to be on mod T as well. Now that one in particular is probably kind of weird, but that's what I've always used, so I'll stick with that. But of course you can edit these and set them to whatever you want, which is one of the great things about this config file. Alright, so sudo make clean install on DWM. And the way we're going to exit DWM is with mod shift, the old mod key, because it hasn't been updated yet, mod shift Q. Okay, and so you'll see another problem with the DWM setup we have now. When you quit it, it actually closes DWM completely. So let's hop back into our xinitrc real quick, and instead of just exec DWM, what we really want to do is wrap this in a loop. So we're going to say while true do DWM, and then we might as well, we're going to make a logs directory, and we'll just record whatever happens there in dwm.log. So again, we're going to want this to be at the bottom of our xinit file, and then let's give that a shot. Oh, I need to send this to the background. Okay, I think that should be good. Let me take a quick look at my xinitrc and make sure that's right. Oh, okay, you don't actually have to send it to the background. And we will put this in front. And in mine, I did while true. I think you can do whatever you want, as long as it evaluates to true. But there we go. So that should let us restart DWM in place now. Alright, now we should be ready to call startx again. Yeah, it looks like we messed something up. So, yes, one thing I wanted to point out earlier is that you should definitely know how to get to another T. Okay, I think we're back this time. So, it turns out I'm actually going to get to do some video editing today after all. So, just a quick recap of what happened. I forgot to create the .logs directory before I started X. So you see that I did this. So that caused my startx to fail, which kind of froze us. What you want to do if that happens is switch to another TTY in Arch with Control-Alt function and a function key. In my case, I was trying to switch to function or TTY2, Control-Alt F2, and apparently that exact kind of key combination is why we have the send key thing in Vert Manager, because it sent that key to my actual machine instead, which is why there was a break in the recording, because you can't record a TTY. So that basically paused my X session where OBS was running and put me in a TTY. When I switched back, OBS didn't really recover. So I thought everything looked good, which is why I started recording again. But then I noticed that the camera was lagging way behind. So I just did a full reboot, got everything back going again, and now hopefully we can finish this out. So the important thing is we should actually be able to call startx now, and that will take us into DWM. So we'll see here, let's go back to full screen. So our resolution changes did not persist, which is expected. So let me go ahead and open the terminal. And, oh wow, wait, is OBS capturing? Oh. I see. I did not realize that OBS was capturing the wrong monitor. Ah, there we go. Okay. So I open a terminal. Let's go ahead and install a web browser so that we can do everything inside of this. So this is something that I would usually look up. Yes, we're just going to go ahead and grab Firefox, because what I want to do now is set it up so that it automatically runs our arender command. Okay, so let me just show off. So now if we do mod shift Q, you'll see that we do stay in DWM. So that's good. You really want to get to that point with DWM so that you can really start doing stuff inside of it. Okay, so let's see. Let's just run Firefox with dmenu. I just want to check which config file is sourced. I think it's xprofile. Let's just search for that. Xprofile allows you to execute commands at the beginning of the X session. Okay, cool. So yeah, the problem is, of course, that we can't source our we can't run an xrender command inside of our xinitrc after dmenu starts, right? Because dmenu starting basically terminates our xinit stuff. So let's go ahead and do our xprofile. Well, hold on. Let's run arender again. So this time I'm actually going to capture the output of a render. So resolution, 1920 by 1080, check. Okay, that's looking good. And this time I'd like to save this as, we're actually going to save this to just directly to our X profile. I'll quit this, take a look at our X profile. Yeah, perfect. So that's going to run all of that. Move.xprofile to just .xprofile, and then I'm going to go ahead and log out of DWM. Oh, okay. So, alright, we're going to try this again. Let's send key root pkill Xorg, log out, back to our first one. Yeah, so we close that. I just want to see if this is actually going to take effect. So this time if I start X, it appears it did not work. So, you know, while I'm here, I'm trying to remember how you do this. I guess you want this after the window manager is started. We'll just do a quick Google search. Yeah, sure, we can look at this. Put the xrender command. Oh. Oh. Okay. Well, I guess I was wrong about that then. Okay. So let's just look. Let's go into our, yeah, that's right, xinitrc. And we'll just source our X profile. Okay, now let's try that. I'll leave that TTY open this time. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Alright, so that was a bit of a diversion. So now we've got that set up. Now I'm just trying to remember what else I wanted to do today. So we got Xorg, we got DWM, we got ST. I think that just about does it. So now that we have our graphical environment, we should be good to go inside of here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to do. So, yeah. Yeah, this video is quite long already, especially with all of the trial and error we had to do. So I'll make a separate video on patching in some features of ST if we want. So I'll see you guys next time.